My name is Dr. Dina Porterfield, and I'm president here at Roberts Wesleyan College, and I would like to welcome you to this morning's leadership breakfast. Not only is it going to be a fabulous leadership breakfast with our guest, but it is a beautiful day. I mean, do you ever wake up in the morning and say, what is the temperature going to be today? I do, every single day. And today will be 65 and sunny. So it's a wonderful Friday. I'm so glad to have all of you here. And I want to welcome those of you who are here on our campus for the first time. If you have a moment before you head back and off to work, I encourage you just to take a drive through the campus and get an idea of what Roberts Wesleyan College is all about. There are some wonderful programs and opportunities, and I want to do a few thank yous. For those of you who are corporate partners, and if you're a corporate partner with Roberts Wesleyan College, will you raise your hand? Your organization. I know there's a few more in here. Raise your hand higher. Come on, be proud. Be proud, great. Corporate Partners is a program that we started as part of our strategic map. And it's a program where we partner with organizations of 250 or more employees and offer a 25% benefit to the employee, the spouse of the employee, or the dependent of the employee at any program at Roberts Wesleyan College except for the doctoral programs. And you can see over here our list. You're all business individuals and you set goals all the time. Last year when we launched this initiative, we had a goal of 2 to 4 in the first year. We have 32 corporate partners that we have signed already. I know. And it is no cost to the organization, which is why I want to let you know that. All we ask is that you advertise the program. It's not exclusive just to Roberts, meaning you can promote other institutions in your company. But for us, it is about partnering and making sure that we can offer a Roberts education to those individuals in your organizations that are looking for a degree that we might have. And I am happy to say that we have already enrolled 81 students through this corporate partner program. And if you are interested in that, I'm looking at Jennifer Moore in the back. She is waving her hand high. She will give you more information on that and begin a conversation for you and your organization. And as you can see, it is not focused in one area. We have healthcare represented, the banking industry, businesses, even education. We are partnering with some educational school districts as well to help their teachers continue their education. So I just wanted to share that with you quickly. I also want to thank today our table sponsor, the Garlock family, and a family of companies. And this event is made in part by their generosity, and I think that's this group right here. Is that correct? So let's thank them for their support. If I could tell you quickly one thing that distinguishes Roberts Wesleyan College, what I would tell you is that our commitment is to graduate women and men who know how to connect their head to their heart and engage their hands. It is a distinctive of who we are. It is putting all three of those together, not just your education, but also the spiritual formation of a student, and then putting that into service within the community. Part of this leadership breakfast is just that. And we have a few students with us, which I'm always excited to see when students are registered to be here. Will our Roberts students stand up so we can welcome you? But it is a distinctive for us to put all three of those together, because what we know is that we want our students to graduate and be individuals that you want to hire in your companies, individuals that know how to make ethical decisions, individuals that you want as a neighbor, that know how to stand for injustice and bring communities together. That is the distinctive of a Roberts Wesleyan College graduate. So I hope today, through this event, you'll continue to grasp just a little bit about who we are. And again, if you're here for the first time, welcome. I'd like to say an opening prayer as we get started today. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our rich history, rooted in the faith and leadership of individuals who were dedicated to acting on what they believed. We're so blessed to live in a land of opportunity and freedom where we can come together as a community to learn from each other and inspire each other to continue to serve in ways that benefit each other, especially those less fortunate. We thank you for your guidance in the past and pray for your wisdom that we will be equipped to build future that is better for all people. We pray for your will and purposes to be accomplished. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're going to get right into our morning session, and I have the privilege of introducing our guest speaker today. And so let me tell you a little bit about Matt Hurlbut. And some of you know him, his face. If you read the RBJ, he's everywhere, let's just be honest. And so let me tell you a little bit about him. He's the president and chief executive officer of the Greater Rochester Enterprise, with responsibility for attracting new businesses to the Greater Rochester area and New York region. Matt guides business development strategies, organizational resources, and outreach efforts to position Rochester as a destination of choice for business investment. He works directly with corporate executives and national site selectors as they consider locations for investment and job creation. Before assuming this role, Matt served as GRE's executive vice president and chief operating officer for 9 years. So he is not new to the work that he's doing, but now in that leadership role. Matt was directly involved in bringing the following organizations to Rochester and expanding the region. So let me tell you a few of those. Alpina, and I hope I pronounce these correctly, Foods, FedEx Freight, Foundation Financial Group, Intrinsic Materials, Live Tiles, Love Beach USA, Mueller, Quaker Dairy, Nestion, OFD Foods, Omni ID, Quintel Solutions, and others to the region. He also worked with American Packaging Corporation, Brand Networks, Concentrix, IEC Electronics, Intergrow, Ledestri Foods, and Maximus as a company expanded in the region. Additionally, Matt directs GRE's economic gardening efforts and collaborates with state and local partners to leverage the region's assets in order to support innovation and economic growth of second stage companies. He was named a 40 under 40 list on that list by the Rochester Business Journal, an award given to recognize individuals with outstanding leadership and accomplishments for service in their profession and the community at large. He holds a Master of Public Administration degree from the State University of New York at Brockport and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science at the State University of New York College at Geneseo. He and his family live in the town of Greece, which so I always like to say I consider that a West Side family, right? I like a good West Side family, which is where we're at. And we're very excited. Let me just say, very excited. If you know anything about him, and as I have gotten to do a little research on who he is, what you know is that he is passionate about Rochester, about our region, and about growing the businesses in the community in the way that they need to. So this time, please welcome Matt Hurlbut. Just doing a little furniture repositioning.
Thank you, and that was a lot. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. It's a privilege, and I've been on campus a few times with some of your students and some of the leadership activity in the School of Business, and you are an asset to the region, and we appreciate the good work you do. So I want to thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. And I know we'll have some Q&A later, so make sure you write some of those questions down, as I do tend to speak fast. So if you need me to slow down, I've told this story before a few times, and somebody in the audience even said, I've seen this before, so hopefully this is a little new to you. So I do have to start with the obligatory Greater Rochester Enterprise, because one interesting thing about GRE, in addition to what you just heard, is I will say this, and I like to start sometimes. How many people love their job? All right, so I love my job, and you may get that as we talk today. I will say it's not easy, and we work almost 24/7. GRE, really, our mission is to support business attraction and expansion. So you see names from companies that are already here growing. 80% of economic growth is from within your community. As well as entrepreneurship and innovation. And we really do that by collaboration. And as you know, if you're engaged, I know I have partners in the room from Eastman Business Park, RG&E, and others that we've worked with on projects. Collaboration is not easy, and which gets us into some of the things we're going to talk about a little later in the way we try to lead and do our work at GRE. But it is about creating a unified approach to economic development. When a company is calling you from Texas or Columbia, and they're looking for a site, they don't understand the town, village boundaries, state, local officials, but they expect their questions answered and to be answered honestly and accurately. And that's what we do, really on a 24/7 basis. So it's all about, if you remember anything from today, GRE connects you to the right people, to the right resources to grow your company in the greater Rochester region. I will tell you that once a company asked me, can you give us an evaluation with Iowa and Wisconsin? And I said, yeah, sure, I'm happy to do that. I can tell you how it's going to land right now. Rochester will be the location that wins all of those categories. My job is to bring you here. So I was willing to do the analysis, but I think they didn't ask me to do that after that conversation. So quickly, the greater Rochester region, it is important to know we work in all 9 counties surrounding Rochester, and this is what companies want to know. While it is important to work on the local side, what we do is promote the region. 1.2 million people, a workforce that has hovered around 600,000. Unemployment rate is about 4% right now. We know we have companies that need people, so that is part of the talent development pipeline issues we're starting to talk about. Our population is larger than than several states, and as well as the fact that the geography is larger than several states. So our region is something people are interested in, especially when we talk about talent. We are in a war for talent, and which gets me to the innovation points. The other interesting thing I like to note here is that when you look at Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and going to Albany, if you put all of us together in upstate New York, we'd be the 26th largest state in the country. So we would also beat states like Arkansas, who are now advertising in the Rochester Business Journal to go to Arkansas. I don't hear that a lot. But we have a lot of good things going on, and economic development is about business attraction, which is probably the hardest thing to do. There are about 20,000 organizations like GRE, all pitching companies that they've got the bluest skies, smartest people, greenest grass. I've had executives, and Tim was in this meeting, Tim Palmer from Eastman Business Park, as we talked about the regional assets, who have said, okay, every state has told me this, every locality, so what makes you different? And it is really about the innovation, the assets, and the particulars of what the company needs. And that, interestingly enough, as much as we're a marketing, outreach-focused organization, and I do like to talk, it's about listening. What problem is the company trying to solve? What do they need? And then ideally growing that opportunity so that they listen to us and we get them feet on the ground here looking at facilities and buildings with our partners. So then there's business expansion, which is obviously important, and then entrepreneurship and innovation. So we really act to connect all of those dots. When we engaged on the Mueller-Quaker project that was mentioned before, Pepsi was leading that out of Plano, Texas. And the question was asked, I know the state, I've talked with Empire State Development, they do the business incentives, I've talked to some local agencies, so who are you and what do you do? And we are supported by the business community to connect those dots. And I literally told the person, if you want a ham sandwich, I'll get you a ham sandwich. If you need access to state resources or our colleges and universities, we will get that for you. We've got people around our table to help you open doors and resolve problems. And that's really what we do. So when we talk about innovation and what makes Greater Rochester and the region so strong, it is about the talent pipeline. Our 19 colleges and universities, 83,000 students, 19,000 graduates. We're a college town. And most importantly, where you see innovation leading now, we're first in physical sciences, first in mathematics, third in engineering and engineering-related technologies, especially software and information technology, where we've seen a lot of growth, and also the interplay of those technologies. Third in the biological and biomedical sciences, and fifth in computing and information sciences, and that's growing and leading to some really great work by local companies. We're number one when it comes to patents per 1,000 workers, and that graphic there where we've got a high concentration in workers in high-tech occupations, 20% above the national average, and that's important because access to talent is critical. And if we go back to the Amazon proposal, Some people talked about, why do you think we can really win that? We have everything they need. And the other part of that is you get questions answered in one phone call, and it's much cheaper to do business here than in San Francisco, Seattle, Boston, New York, Northern Virginia, etc. So, this quote I really like. A Nobel Prize winner, Paul Romer, really talked about, so what is innovation? And ideas drive economies, better recipes, not just more cooking. And it's interesting because it really kind of takes us back to some of the work that we do in the sense of, are we innovative? Are we working, it's that old tagline, are you working smarter? Are you working harder or smarter? We're a $2 million organization with 7 people, so we have to be very targeted in the way that we talk about Greater Rochester. The other thing about GRE that's interesting is you don't see us really promoting GRE, we're promoting the region. So we oftentimes get the question, I've never heard of you, I wish we met you earlier. So that's one of the reasons why we like to speak locally, is just to connect some of those dots. Please call us anytime. But we see outstanding innovation, and these are just some of the categories. Radio frequency, you saw the L3 and the Harris merger. That's all related to RFID technology and the outstanding talent that we have here in the region. Harris is here expanding. They purchased a former Xerox facility on Jefferson Road, spent $20 million to buy that, and then $20 million to renovate it instead of going to Florida because of the talent here. Imaging, sensing technology, that's related to AIM Photonics, our optics, photonics, and imaging strength. We are the only community in the United States to have an optical technician program. This goes back over tens of years, and the optics, photonics, and imaging strength plays into medical device, obviously sensing, and the future of driverless cars, drone technology. So all of that synergy between software, information technology, data science, optics are all in interplay, and we sit right in the middle of that important knowledge economy. Sustainable packaging and big data. Someone in one of our optics, photonics, and imaging work groups talked about the thousands of pictures that are now out there as we have security cameras. Everybody is taking photos on your phone, videotaping various things, and what's done with all of that? And how is that utilized in a useful manner? Well, that all goes back to data science, optics, and the enhancement of that activity. So some of the accolades that I'd like to talk about when we promote the region, obviously one of the best places to live. We know that, 6 outstanding public high schools, one of the most innovative innovation hubs, 7th brainiest city in America, best city for commuters. We do have a minute mile. Sometimes you have to touch your brakes in so-called rush hour. As well as when it rains for some reason. Lately we've been slowing down when it rains. But also, again, that number 1 for patents per 1,000 workers. We ranked, as you saw the Amazon HQ2 proposal go through, we were ranked number 4 by Moody's Analytics. And it was interesting because some people were shocked by that, but not us. It really validated what we say every day. We are a smart place. We have great quality of life. We've got outstanding business environment. And we were behind cities like Austin and Philadelphia. So we like to use their marketing to compare ourselves to Raleigh, Austin, and so forth, because we are a great community. And frankly, we need to be more positive of that when we talk to ourselves. We also ranked in the top 15 for Apple's search that is not as public as Amazon's. We are one of the top innovation-based economies from Brookings. And one of my favorites is the Weather Channel ranked us the safest weather city in the Northeast. And we always get a laugh on that. And I will tell you, stop complaining about the snow. It is fresh water falling from the sky. Our food and beverage companies need it. It's cheap. It's everywhere. When I go to California to try to recruit companies, I tell them that I left the hose running and I'll turn it off when I get back. That drives them crazy. Our water is cheap and plentiful, and we can handle it in the facility search process going into the company, and we have the infrastructure coming back out, which is important, and also cost effective. We joke about that, but it really is gold to some of these companies. Semiconductors also use a lot of water. Photovoltaic manufacturers use a lot of water and have to handle and process it on the way out. We also have hydroelectric power, sustainable power generation in this state, and have access to reduce power costs. Very smart people and a great quality of life. So all of those factors play in. And then we have to back it up with real data, and that's where all of you come in, because oftentimes our job is to bring a company here, especially on the attraction side, and sometimes you've got a corporate executive for a company that may be located here and the decision makers are elsewhere and perhaps in a foreign country. So it's about those data points and having all of you speak up and validate the things that we're saying, and that even goes for social media. The site selectors now are using metadata to validate commutation patterns, weather, parking availability. So there was a headquarter project in Richmond, Virginia, and Hickey Associates was very open to the fact that we validated parking access in downtown Richmond by tracking Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So when people are on their various accounts complaining about things, someone is looking, and it's not the Russians. Anyways, so these are just some of the wins that we like to talk about. And I'll go to the middle where we started with Barilla in 2007. This was really, GRE was created back in 2002 by some business leaders in the community because they found that other communities were winning deals, and the region had no one speaking up and promoting and connecting the dots. And at that time, if you didn't respond to a request for information, you were simply taken off the list. So GRE was created in 2002, working with the business community and other community leaders, our government economic development partners, to really be that unified approach and collaborative resource to validate demographic information. You do have to respond now. At that time, you used to have a week. Now we have 24 hours to 36 hours to respond with demographic information, sites or facilities, validation of top employers, skills for the company, university and college information. It could also be supply chain information as well as information on incentives. And they can be anywhere from 40 pages to a 100-page document. And the reason that they do that is they want to deal with communities that have their act together. They don't want to give you a week to respond because they don't want to deal with somebody who can't tell them where the sites are, if there's a wetland. They're also looking at typically anywhere between 10 and 30 states. So this is like applying for a job. You have to be accurate. You have to be factual. Deloitte has a line on their RFI that says if anything in here is inaccurate, you will be blacklisted. We will not deal with your community again. So it's a little bit more than marketing and advertising in the sense that the truthfulness and the accuracy is paramount. And the timeline, it's critical that we are on point, factual, and accurate as we move forward. So here, Barilla is a case where in 2007, they made a $110 million investment for 120 jobs. They're still here and growing, very happy. And the interesting part here is the fact that they really fell in love with the community. So the analytics were on point. But they also really loved the way the community approached them. Klein Steel was an $8 million investment in downtown Rochester, 50 new jobs manufacturing steel in a new process, again, innovation. Employee Channel is one of our recent wins where an RIT alumni came back from Silicon Valley and onshored instead of offshore. They have a development office. They have 5 people now, going to grow to 30 in downtown Rochester. American Packaging has 170 people on Driving Park Boulevard. They were looking at Iowa for this opportunity and really gave us a chance to come back in, and that's where we worked. We circled the wagons with our local partners. That's about a $170 million investment, 260 new jobs in Chilai, outstanding facility, state-of-the-art facility. On Semiconductor is spending about $34 million, adding about 30 jobs at their Lake Avenue operation. Bristol Technologies is expanding. Love Beats we talked a little bit about before. That was a joint venture with Ledestri Foods and G's Fresh, $17 million investment, 140 new jobs, and that was leveraging the assets that were very unique at Eastman Business Park. The fact that they have their own industrial sewer system was really critical in the sense of pre-treating what is known as the organic waste that comes out of that process. We talked about Harris before. Ledestri Foods also has 1.5 million square feet under roof at Eastman Business Park, leveraging the steam utility assets there. They have, I think, about 400 or 500 people there, all new jobs, very competitive projects with Pennsylvania as well as New Jersey. Pride Pack has a $20 million a new facility with 200 people in Medina, New York, where they're processing vegetables. OFD Foods is now hiring. That was a very competitive project with Wisconsin. Critical, again, getting them responses quickly. They're building spending $25 million to build a 50,000 square foot facility, importantly with room to expand, hiring 30 people. Brand Networks has about 55 people here doing software development. They have an office in Boston and San Francisco. They are part of the reason why certain things, as you work on social media, pop up and remind you of some of your interests and abilities. CloudCheckr is a local company, outstanding technology company, again in the software space. They are growing in downtown Rochester. They've got over 100 people now. Datto is another interesting story with RIT, where we've got an alumni who came back, started a business at his house in Connecticut, and came back and promised 70 jobs in downtown Rochester. They are now looking at 400 jobs in downtown Rochester. And again, it all goes to talent. LiveTiles is an artificial intelligence company. We had an announcement last year. $17 million investment, 500 new jobs in artificial intelligence. And the interesting part about the information and software companies is the fact that they're already introducing us to other opportunities, which is what you want. You know, if you're in sales or a business of any kind, a warm referral and a satisfied customer is the best thing you can have. Mark Oney, Dan Diefendorf, Aaron Newman, Austin McCord have all introduced us to other companies, which makes it a lot easier for us to do our job and tell our story. We actually have met with 3 companies in the software space just this week as a result of some of that work. Amazon has a delivery center here in Monroe County, hiring about 125 people. Qualtrol actually has monitoring technologies. This was a threat. They were going to leave. They're going to add 27 people as well as keep 200 people in the region. Visual DX has a great software, optics, medical-related technology where they can validate and give you information about skin issues so that you can, in a sense, almost kind of pre-treat. They work with doctors and customers on that. Very interesting company. They have 50 people now. It could double in size. Vuzix is another optics company engaged in glasses and intelligent glass technology. Also working with now a company, Working Man, connected to the gaming industry. FedEx Freight, we talked about before, their Canadian jumping point is here in Chilai, a new facility, $8 million, 110 jobs. eHealth Technology is up to about 120 individuals who are serving the medical sector, doing imaging and medical records connectivity. Cherry Bundy is a company that started out a technology farm in Geneva, has now expanded into a former Tops in Geneva, adding about 20 or 30 people. Optimax, we just announced, is adding about 60 people. They have 300 people here now in the town of Ontario, just over the Monroe County border. An outstanding company who also believes in serving leadership. Intergrow is a fun project. I see Mr. Rizzo here. We had some very interesting conversations about that. Intergrow wanted a site that was agricultural, but also needed a high-pressure gas line and a lot of electricity. And if you saw the news as they worked, they found a site in Webster that didn't play out so well. In the fence, they needed the power, and the utilities was paramount to that operation. So their plan, they've actually also gone to the town of Ontario, is to put 2 million square feet under glass and grow tomatoes. So we talk about agriculture, it's innovation in agriculture. A very interesting technology. Natcor has 8 people at Eastman Business Park doing thin film solar research. Seisenbacher is actually one of the interesting stories. $1.7 million, might not seem like a big project. 59 new jobs at 275 Humboldt Street in downtown Rochester. They are an Austrian company, and this gets into the customer service aspect of what we do. They called a few other communities who hung up on them because they have an accent. We did not. And we brought them to the community by also connecting them to supply chain and other companies here that actually help them to get to market quicker. So it is that part about listening and being responsive. And as we talk about in the office, projects come first. So Unither has spent about $20 million. They're adding 25 jobs in Jefferson Road. And then IEC Electronics is expanding. They're going to add 400 people in Newark. This was a threat where New Mexico, they have an operation in New Mexico that does have capacity. And again, utilities came into play here, as well as our local partners in Wayne County at the state. And it is really about surrounding companies with all of those assets and the importance of collaboration and communication as we win these deals. And again, that's just a sample of some of the work. There's more. And more expansions and attraction wins we've had in the past few years. So when we talk about leadership, one of the things that we've done, and this goes back to Mark Peterson, who was my predecessor at GRE. Mark and I worked together for 9 years and worked with the rest of the team. And Mark really focused on the serving leader piece. And it's, I'd like to talk about this because it's important in the work that we do, especially in the sense of the publicity and the work of economic development and the fact that you typically, and some of my friends tease me about this, you typically won't see us on stage, sometimes referenced when an announcement is made, and that's okay. The work that we do, it's really about providing information and serving. The company first, but also our partners. And one of the things that we've focused on, and you have it in front of you, is we've launched this Get Real campaign, and we want people to use those talking points. As a small nonprofit marketing the region, if there are data points in there that you can use in your business to promote yourselves, to help recruit customers, to recruit staff, take it and use it. And if you need it in a different format, I'll give it to you in Word or whatever you need. Take it and use it and leverage the work that we're doing. And also on our website, if there's anything on there you want, take it. If we can give you another piece of information, take it. So it's really, we focus on building on strengths. We do talk about the region's strengths, and when it comes to staff, we focus on our strengths. And then it's about blazing the trail and clearing the path. And that's my job as a leader for my team, is to clear the path. Sometimes I do that a little more aggressively than other times, I will admit. Joe Rizzo is smirking right now because he's probably been annoyed by me a few times as I've tried to blaze the path. But it is about clearing obstacles out of the way so that our customers, our business community can be successful, and trying to do that in a respectful manner that helps, again, leverage those strengths. And then it's raising the bar. So, you know, it's interesting because we compare ourselves to Buffalo and Syracuse, and David Munson said it well recently, you know, why are we settling to compare ourselves to Buffalo? And nothing against Buffalo, but I benchmark ourselves against the Research Triangle, against Austin. That's who I'm tracking. And frankly, I want to beat them at every turn. I am a competitive person. What we do is competitive, and it's always about raising that bar, as it is for our staff. So unfortunately, in our business, you only get one time to get in front of a site selector like Mike Mullis or Darren Bulow from Deloitte or an executive. So you have to be accurate every single time. So it is about raising the bar, and it's upending that period. It's upending the pyramid in the sense of it's not the Matt Hurlbut show at GRE. It is not about self-promotion. It is about the region and serving our companies, and sometimes that means getting out of the way and just making connections, helping connections to happen and creating those win-wins. And obviously, what we do at GRE is run to great purpose. It's all about helping the community grow, providing jobs for people, helping people come back, and providing connectivity to the assets that we have here. And then one of the other things, so we talk about strengths, and this is work we've done with Joel, who is really an outstanding assistant for me as I've taken over, I shouldn't say assistant, but a resource really, and worked with our team as we've built off of some of the earlier serving leader work that we did at GRE. We really, as we came in, as I came into President CEO last year, I wanted to really kind of change and build leadership throughout GRE, in the fact of having staff that aren't afraid to take a risk and to know that if they take a risk in order to serve the company, that it's not going to be a gotcha for them. And that's kind of the hard part, because we do, in a sense, need to be perfect when we deliver information, but people are people and we make mistakes. So it's my job to make sure not only do I blaze the path, clear obstacles, but also I have their back 110%. And that's very important. So then one of the things that we talked about here is with everybody, we used the Gallup tool to get our five strengths. And you see, interestingly enough, strategic is big. Achiever is big. We've got maximizer in the sense of focusing on strengths and maximizing those strengths. Positivity, obviously. We all have to be positive, and you'll see that play out a little later. And then one of my favorites, and she's here today, is our woo. So our woo, Stacy Henning, I said I wouldn't call you out, but I'm gonna, because I like this word. And that is just, the woo is the sense of a strength of meeting new people and winning them over and connecting. And she's great at that. She's also a great truth teller in the sense of when I may do something that perhaps isn't that articulate or well thought out, she says, well, you may want to slow down and think of it this way. And I appreciate her for that, as well as the rest of our staff. We've got an outstanding team, and that kind of gets me to our next key point. We've done a lot of reading with Patrick Lencioni, and one of our more recent books that we've looked at is The Ideal Team Player. Economic development is a team sport. It's residents, it's the taxi cab driver, it is when you're on a plane flying back to Rochester or coming from Rochester. It is about being positive. It is elected officials. It's everybody in that sense. But for us at GRE, it is really about the team and the ability to plug people into a project and also to engage in a useful manner at the drop of a hat. And this actually just happened last Friday. We had a company in town, information technology project, could be up to 200 jobs. Leah George was walking the CFO through a variety of sites in Rochester and had an ear infection and honestly couldn't take it anymore, so she had to step away. And Anna Liss on our team, some of you know Anna, came right in, jumped in, continued with the process, working with the CEO. Leah went to a doctor, actually came back, and Stacy, who was supposed to be off that day, came in to put out a proposal that Anna was working on. So that's the kind of effort that you see on a daily basis from our team, and it's all about being humble in the sense of it's really about the region, so you don't see self-promotion in the sense of the way we work. And hungry is really about just wanting to do, again, running to that great purpose. So being an advocate, working hard is certainly part of that. And then the smart piece is being smart in the sense of knowing the resources here in the region. It doesn't mean that we necessarily review all of the details for a solar panel manufacturer, whether it's monocrystalline or multicrystalline, and get into their science and technology. But it's also being smart in the sense of listening. And sometimes, as I tell my boys, sometimes it's knowing when to just zip it. A lot of what we do is listening and helping companies meet their objectives, and that means stepping away and connecting people to resources at this college, at the U of R, at RIT, at MCC, perhaps with another company, helping them solve the problem, and that oftentimes isn't done with us, but it's done through our partners and our board and other connective assets in the region. And the other thing that we have here, and I don't have it up on the slide, is we have an FIO culture. Anybody know what FIO is? It's one of my favorite acronyms. FIO is figure it out. Figure it out. GRE doesn't have any job descriptions. We do whatever it takes to win a deal. And sometimes you get into situations. I've done projects that are related to taking municipal solid waste and turning it into ethanol. The Mueller Quaker project was all about milk supply of various grades and prices. I did learn a lot about cows. And we've done software, nanomaterials, energy innovation, lithium-ion battery, and we can't be experts in all of those fields, but we have the experts here in this region. So it's all about making that phone call and that connectivity. So we have launched a new marketing effort as we also try to innovate, and it is really talking about getting real. So oftentimes people talk about Rochester or think about what they think they know about Rochester, and what we're trying to say is, yes, get real. We've got the talent you need. We've got the reduced cost of real estate, especially compared to those metropolitan markets. We've got the talent at a lower price, close proximity to markets, and all you need to do is get real and connect with us to help grow your company. So again, one of the key things I want to leave you with is be positive. Promote our regional assets. We're a highly skilled, productive, affordable workforce. That's what CEOs and CFOs want to know when they talk about expanding a variety of high-tech and innovative companies, often that are a phone call away. Renowned universities and research centers, and that's on the private side as well as on our university culture that we have here. And we continue to drive patent innovation even as Kodak, Xerox, and Bausch & Lomb have declined in that regard. Cost-effective and competitive business environment, especially when you break out the regional data as against New York State as a whole, and outstanding infrastructure, and yes, abundant fresh water. It is the story that we like to tell and something that we will keep telling. And to further that point, we do have a video that we've launched, and hopefully you've seen this a little bit, perhaps our 15-second version on local media. If you're on social media of any kind, follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and please share this video. So.
Looking for top-tier talent, leading-edge innovation, a strategic location, and a low cost of doing business? Get real in the greater Rochester, New York region. It's home to the real talent you need to put your business ahead of the curve. We're talking real smart. First for degrees in STEM programs among large metropolitan areas. Third for degrees in engineering, and in the top 5 for degrees in computing and information sciences. With a concentration of workers in high-tech occupations that's 20% above the national average. That's a lot of real smart people putting down roots in the greater Rochester, New York region. That smart talent fuels our world-class R&D labs, powering the real breakthroughs that make us an innovation hub for software and IT, food and beverage manufacturing, optics, photonics and imaging, and advanced manufacturing. Developing everything from cancer-preventing vaccines and next-gen medical imaging systems to high-pressure, low-waste food packaging and multi-directional backup cameras for our cars. It's brain power with a purpose. We offer a competitive wage advantage other high-tech hubs can't match. Commercial real estate rates 42% lower than the national average. Short average commute time of just 21.2 minutes. And a quality of life that's more affordable than the national average, making our region a real great place to live. A region with a low risk of natural disasters and unlimited access to fresh water. And we're real close to major markets without the major market costs. So if you're looking for the talent, the innovation, strategic location, and the low cost of doing business you need to grow your company, the greater Rochester, New York region is the real deal. Get started today at rochesterbiz.com.
So that video is anywhere, as well as our website. I encourage you to share that. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is our website. Again, a lot of good statistics there. And it is interesting. And doing this work, I've got some interesting statistics that are just locked in here. So Lake Ontario is 7% of the world's fresh water supply, if you want to know that. I used to joke that it actually used to be in our video, and now we say unlimited, and the reason why, when we drain all that out, the other lakes roll our way anyway, so we get the other 13%. So we do have unlimited water as opposed to just 7% from Lake Ontario. Feel free to share that with your friends if you ever need it. But please use our website. I do like to have a little fun, if you notice. So, but again, that's my mobile number, and I really do answer almost 24/7. It gets me in trouble from time to time, but 585-749-1305. I know many of you have this already, but if you have a company that's looking to expand or that just has a problem, we often know the people who can help them solve that, especially when we're accessing our university system, which can be large, or a supply chain issue, or if there's an opportunity to expand, especially attract investment here, or just connect to someone that may be in the region that you need to connect with, please feel free to contact us anytime. We have an outstanding staff, and one of the things I'm really proud of is our team at GRE. We've got people that work really hard, and I can say during the Amazon H2Q process, people were working on Saturdays at 10 o'clock, writing at midnight as we went to print for that effort, and you don't find that everywhere, and I certainly couldn't do what I do without the team that I have, as well as the partners that are in this room and beyond. We've got a great, very collaborative community, and I think we often don't talk about it enough, the fact that we can solve problems with a phone call, and we have a lot of good things going on in this community. We need to be a little more proud, and we're certainly better than Buffalo. So,
thank you, Matt. Let's just Yeah, great presentation. We appreciate you coming out and representing the whole GRE team. And my name is Joel Homans, and I'm the director of the Masters in Strategic Leadership program here, and I'm his assistant as well. And
Never going to hear the end of that.
And you know, as we get into the cold temps here and winter approaches, we need feel-good presentations like this, right? In this region, because this is a great region, and we lose sight of that sometimes in the midst of winter. And we have a rare day today where we have the sun coming through here, and the folks in the front are getting a suntan while they're here this morning. But we put some time aside this morning, a little bit of time aside for some questions, and that makes me feel a little bit more like a game show host, and maybe a hybrid of a college professor doing those two things together. Maybe I'll rename myself Monty for this piece, but we want to take some questions. We want to give you an opportunity to ask some questions. And the old method to do that used to be raising your hand. The new method now with technology is I've got some instructions to give you with how we're going to go about doing this. If you go to slido.com with your cell phone or iPad or device, and you can go to slido.com and you put in the number 9169, and you can put in questions and you can vote on the questions there. And we're just going to give Matt a chance to respond to a couple of questions. And really want to start with this top question that's highlighted in orange right now. Matt, can you explain how colleges and companies working together make a difference in our region? You spoke to that a little bit, but can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, one of the things that we've actually started to talk about is the talent issue. And the war for talent is true. And it really, when a site selector or a company executive is making a decision around expanding a company, they look at three factors. And that is the existing workforce, where we have a very strong story to tell, as you see in the data that you have in front of you. And then the pipeline, again, which is dependent on our colleges and universities and even our secondary system. But the other piece is attraction of talent and the ability for a region to attract talent. And one of the things that we've been talking about lately, we do have strong, as you see this morning, we have strong connectivity with our colleges, universities, with the business community in this town. But one of the things that we've really been focused on more recently, especially with the success we've had, is having our colleges and universities push out some of the success stories. And the examples are Harris Communications is currently recruiting for 50 engineers on billboards. We haven't seen that before. Datto has 80 jobs open. Isaac Heating and Cooling has 46 jobs open. Rochester Precision Optics has 40 jobs open. And the list goes on and on and on. And that is one of the things that really isn't a heavy lift. We don't need a marketing campaign per se to do that, but sharing some of those stories with alumni and people who have moved away from upstate New York, and these are outstanding jobs. You may have moved to Atlanta, perhaps for the weather, and in order to drive 15 miles, it takes you an hour and a half. It's time to come back. And again, yes, we have 4 seasons that we enjoy. We get a dusting of snow from sometimes, but again, it just leads to fresh water and outstanding outdoor opportunities. And your house is not destroyed by a hurricane or a cyclone or other things. I did name a project Cyclone once just because we were competing with an area that gets some storms from once in a while. So,
excellent. Let's move down to the third question down there that says, how do you see GRE evolving in the future?
Yeah, and this is interesting because it kind of plays into that data science. We're actually, one of the things that we're researching is on the Data Science Institute is trying to get predictive. So as companies, as there's more and more data engaged, and it may be an investment, a company may have secured a large venture capital investment, a change in the marketplace, or maybe a merger or an acquisition. What are those data points that we can glean through better data science analytics that help us predict when a company is going to make a decision to expand, so we're ahead of that curve? And then, honestly, a little bit is just old school outreach, visiting more with our existing companies to make sure that they are happy, they have the resources they need, especially when companies are headquartered out of the region, making sure that that we have opportunities to help them grow here in the region.
All right, I have a feeling I know where this next question came from, but I like that question about, are we at a significant disadvantage not having top-tier sports teams in the region?
Are we talking about the Bills? I don't think so. It often doesn't come up. The things that communities or CEOs like to talk about is quality of life. We are, if you want football, we're an hour from Buffalo. We've got the Sabres too, and hopefully they'll be on a positive upswing. We've got Division I sports with Syracuse, and we do have the one piece that we've got, and it actually impacts innovation significantly, is the arts and cultural community in this town. Oftentimes we underplay the strength there. Our Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra is outstanding, and large cities don't have the quality of arts and cultural assets that we have. So it's really across that spectrum, just beyond sports. And as we talk the fact that we may lack that, we often like to talk about the things we do have. Again, playing on strengths.
Excellent. Let's move down to the next question there. What is the greatest challenge that we face in drawing businesses to Rochester?
Well, it's a little-known fact that I think what you often have, especially when we're doing outreach in cities, talking to site selectors, New York does have a reputation as being a high-tax state with a difficult business environment. And that is when we try to break down into the detail of what problem are you trying to solve and where are you trying to solve it, and then talking about the talent, and then even getting into the data side where New York as a whole, and we've seen this as we talk about price per kilowatt hour or talent, lease rates. When we break out our regional information, we compete very well, especially in the high-tech environment where we're engaged. We won't beat South Carolina for assembly line work where they're paying $8 an hour, but frankly, that's not the place we play. It is all about high-tech, knowledge-based economy, which is why innovation is so important to us, and actually why you see the growth that you see. IEC Electronics, OFD Foods, they're doing food innovation. Some of our hydroponic deals, it's all about innovation, proximity to market. So we've got a great story to tell in that space. But New York does have a reputation, and we've had some changes recently, and as more work is done in that space, it'll certainly help us.
Since we're on a college campus this morning, Matt, I love these next two questions if we have time to get to them. But the first one asks, does GRE have intentions of marketing to students to retain them in the region? And as many of us in this room know, it's been a challenge for us to retain the students in the region. Even though we have the needs right here, they often go elsewhere.
Yeah. The short answer is yes. That would be a collaborative effort. This goes back to a collaborative conversation we've had with the Chamber of Commerce, with our elected officials, with Visit Rochester and other organizations. And it really is about a synergy of those efforts to make sure that we, in a way, not necessarily that there are talking points, that we're all relying on the same message. And it is sometimes the simple promotional fact of the opportunities at a Cloud Checker, at a Datto. They're not Amazon, Facebook, and Google, but you can buy a house here. You can get to the lakes in 25 minutes. Well, I do, but maybe 35 minutes for most people as they drive. But it's that quality of life, that ability to afford a home and live here, and we need to get that message out to our students and our alumni.
Yeah, and I think, personalizing that, we move to the next question is, how can I use, somebody asked in the room, how can I use my own creative or innovative thinking to push forward my own career?
So one of the things I used to do before I joined GRE was I led Rochester Works, which is an employment and training organization. And in the work there, as well as a few other places, I think one thing, as I've dealt with people who have been in transition or looking for their next opportunity, and again, this goes to playing on your strengths. Oftentimes, when we look at our resume or our bio, we think about jobs in the sense of duties and requirements, and they're often listed that way, as opposed to skills. And as someone who used to work in government and then transitioned out, it was that the importance of the skills and the energy and the innovation you bring, and people often sell themselves short, and some of it's that Midwestern mentality. We were talking with somebody in the room. So we've got great companies here that also don't promote themselves, the outstanding technology they have. We need to do more of that. And oftentimes when people are looking to make a job, they think, well, I can't really do that. And that may be true when you look at the job duties, but was there an effort you led? Was there a problem you solved? What was the result? And are there skills that you have that maybe even outside of the job, they're not listed on your resume? And then there's the social media aspect of that, as you're on LinkedIn and how you promote yourself in a tactful manner, to gain some attention for companies that may need those skill sets. Companies are looking for people, and I've heard stories of CEOs who are handing out business cards at a McDonald's or a Dunkin' or other places where they've had good customer service, and they'll teach you the skills of the company and the technology, but it's that can-do attitude and kind of going back to that ideal team player. Many of our staff, actually, none of us are certified economic development professionals. Now, some may say that as a criticism. I think we've been pretty successful finding people who will go the extra mile and work together in a team to do the work that we do. And so I would argue that we've got an outstanding team, even though if some looked at us, they would say, well, you don't have one certified economic development professional on your team. How can you possibly be engaged in this business? But it's really based on relationships. So it's playing off those skills, and people sell themselves short.
Yeah, and I think you've spoken to that this morning with the FIO, Figure It Out.
Yes.
You know, one of the things I'd build on that with is just saying, you know, that problems present opportunities for us to grow. And so, you know, it's not just what's clear to you as your strengths, but it's also what's clear to you as a problem that you can try and be part of the solution for.
Right.
And engaging in those kinds of things can move you forward in all kinds of ways you probably didn't anticipate, right?
Yeah, and one of the things I tell my boys is step up. If there's a problem and someone says, can someone help me with this? Step into it.
Let's go down to the question about the Rochester Airport. I think that's a great question. It's one I know I've had some conversations in the past about. One of the difficulties, according to this question, and I think I share this concern on occasion, is for businesses to be able to have direct access to other cities. And can you discuss the ability to expand the direct connections at our Rochester Airport?
Yeah, I think that's why you see the investment being made in our airport right now. As part of that is to improve the flow through at the airport, but also the focus on having the airlines that are there expand routes. I do know that Monroe County is working on that, especially on the West Coast, as we have a lot more interplay with West Coast-based companies in the technology sector that I mentioned before. It was one of the requirements for the Amazon HQ2 project. I will also say every mid-market city in the country has the same challenge. And it is worth noting that we had a project, Eagle Eyes, which was a $3 billion, 5,600 job opportunity. And the site selector, we had a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and as we were talking about access to airports, he noted, and we've noted this before too, he said, well, you don't have all the direct access, but you do have multiple points of access, which if you fly to Iowa, you don't have that. You go to Des Moines, and if you're canceled, you're canceled. Or you have to drive like 4 hours. But here, you've got Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse. So you can get into the region and out. And yes, we're working on that as well as local officials are working on that. And that gets back to data, and it is about putting people on seats. Okay. Thank you. And again, so I would encourage you, if there's anything on our website, if we can be helpful, please contact us. It's a community asset, the work that we do, and I would encourage you, just if you leave with anything, just be positive. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Mac. Special thank you to Joel and to Matt. That was fantastic. So I was watching those Slido questions. We could stay here for a couple more hours, but I think you'd all like to get back to your jobs. But seriously, if we used your question, we'd love for you to jump up there and see Michelle. She's got a little Robert swag for you. Also want to let you know to watch your calendars. March 15th, always on a Friday, our next leadership breakfast. We have a topic in mind and a speaker selected or eyed out, but nothing confirmed, so just watch your emails from us. And then also a special thank you. As we mentioned, a portion of your ticket went to our annual fund, which directly supports our students in programs and scholarships. And through our table sponsor, Garlock, thank you. Some extra donations from a few of you, and ticket sales, we raised $450, again, go straight to students. So thank you again for attending. Stick around if you'd like to have an extra cup of coffee. Enjoy your day, and thanks again to Matt and Joel.